And you're live, Mr. Chair. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Thank you, everybody, for coming to Strategic Priorities and Intergovernmental Affairs Cooperative Committee on what is this, February 24th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Any of the declarations of conflict of interest?
No.
Seeing none. Approval of the agenda?
Yeah.
Moved by Councillor Rivard. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Tweel.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. There's a couple of issues I'd like to bring up with the committee's approval. One is I want to put on the agenda an issue I brought up 3 months ago, and that is the amendment to the procedural bylaw concerning or regarding the consultation and collaboration with all members of City Council prior to any recommendations being made by the advisory committee. I don't know if we'll discuss that under business arising, or we can discuss it under putting it on the agenda. What is your wishes, Mr. Chair?
Can we put that under new business, Mr. Kelly, or
Yeah,
should we just go with the bylaw?
It can go under a 9.1 at this time.
Okay.
We can discuss it now?
No.
At a 9.1.
Under new business, Mr. Councillor Tweel.
Under new business, okay. The second item I want to the second item I want to bring up under new business is
You're hard to hear, Councillor Tweel. We can't.
sorry, I'm just signing something for Tracy. Thank you, Tracy. Okay. The second item I want to bring up is I brought it up under at the last City Council meeting, a resolution I'd like to put on the agenda for committee's consideration. A resolution to go to City Council to change up the advisory committee. And I think I was told need to bring in a resolution, so I think this committee would be proper form to bring in that resolution. I'm hoping I can get the support of the committee to have the discussion and then formulate a plan of action to bring in a resolution to change up at least some of the members of the advisory committee and have a fresh set of lens at the committee, at the advisory committee level.
So that's only for the CAC, Councillor?
No, I was told at the council meeting, and I think you said it.
No, but
You can bring a resolution to council. You know, if we're going to wait for the AC to bring it up, Mr. Kelly, it's never going to happen.
No, that's not my question. Is it the only you want to change up the CAC? Is that the only one you want to bring forward?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So I want to put that on the agenda for today's meeting.
Okay, that's under
9.2.
9B then, Councillor Tweel, under new business.
Okay, so that's two items we're going to discuss.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else, any questions? Approval of the agenda?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, moved by Councillor Drawn, second by Councillor Rivard. Approval of the minutes?
Yeah. Sure.
Moved by Councillor Rivard, second by Councillor Drawn. Election bylaw proposed amendments. Mr. Kelly, would you like to take that?
So these, Mr. Chair, are, as in the report, the request updates from the municipal affairs. They were recommended, so they are here for council's for the committee's endorsement to forward to council, as the upcoming election, as you're aware, is in November of this year.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions on it?
Councillor Tweel has his hand up, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Tweel, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Caac,
So you're hard to hear, Councillor Tweel?
okay, I'll try it again.
That's better.
Can you outline the significant changes to the proposed proposed changes to the election bylaw? What are the significant changes that we're entertaining here today?
So if you go to section 20, sorry, just a second now. Yes, under section 2021, under section 20, candidates pursuant to section 12.2.1 of the election regulations, a candidate is in the election is not eligible to be appointed and shall not serve as an election official in the election. So you cannot serve as in any capacity as an election official. And 21 under 21.1, pursuant to subsection 18.3 of the election regulations, a person closely connected as defined in the Act to a candidate shall not serve as an election official. So anybody, your business partner, your spouse, or any close relation cannot serve as an election official in the election.
Does that mean, for example, you can't have a family member acting as a scrutineer?
If under the MGA, a person closely connected is defined as means a family member, an agent, a business partner, or an employer of the member. So they are not to have any capacity or any official capacity in the election. That is correct.
But they're still allowed, Peter, to go like everyone does and have someone go and check the polls and see see how many people voted or something like that, can't they?
That one I'm going to have to further define or check into. If they're doing normal campaigning for you, going door to door and doing those things, I don't see that to be an issue. But as an official, I don't know if that I presume it means an official with the municipality. But again, with inside agents, outside agents, we'll just get that further clarified. But again, folks, these are asked and requested of the MGH, and we need to move forward with them as well.
Oh yeah, because everybody usually has a runner, like to go to their own polls and just check things out. But that's not being employed by anybody with elections PEI. Am I correct with that? But I think what you're basically stating, if I can read it, is that they can't work at the polls and such other things.
I will seek further clarity, but we do need to amend the Act as per the request of the province. But I will get that, Councillor Tweel, the information that you're asking.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, further follow-up. So is there any other significant changes to the Elections Act?
No, if you see the report, it says in 6 spots that there's no action required. So the only action that is a change for us, because we mostly have everything else in play, is the section 20 and 21.
That's it.
That is
Sections 20 and 21.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Councillor Rivard? Councillor Drong, any questions on that?
No.
Is that it for that one, Peter?
Yes, Mr. Chair. But you
No
do need a motion to refer to council for approval. In the interim, I will get further clarity on the question of Councillor Tweel.
Okay. I have a motion. Do we have anyone who wants to forward the motion? Moved by Councillor Tweel, seconded by...
Sure.
Oh, all right, then seconded by Councillor Drong. Thank you. Number 6, bylaw review process. Mr. Kelly and Chantal, I believe that's you too?
So, and partially with Tina as well.
Sorry. Yes.
And
sorry,
so
Tina.
and so what's going on here is that all bylaws that are subject under this committee is being asked to be reviewed, which will tie into the overall review process of all bylaws. And Tina, I'll ask you to comment on that piece, please.
Hi, through the chair to everyone. One of the things that we are looking at in terms of organizational assessment, refresh, and review, and also as part of our strategic planning process, is taking a look at our bylaws, our processes, policies, and procedures. And step one in that process is to make sure that we have them cataloged all in one place and see any interrelations or connections to other bylaws or policies and procedures, so that we can develop an ongoing system of review, refresh, renewal, or repeal as required. Part of that process is to see if the respective committees have any bylaws that they are looking at in the immediate future that may not be able to wait as part of the review process, that they believe need to be looked at in the near future.
Thank you, Tina. Any questions on that, folks? Councilor Trio?
So, okay, we're going to do a review, examination of the current bylaws that are in place. We do have a book that catalogs all of the bylaws that are on the city's books now. I believe they're all online for the residents to have that opportunity to look at the bylaws and see how it affects them with respect to services that are being delivered here in the city, whether it be public works, police, fire, parks and recreation, planning, all of those. Has there been a preliminary review thus far, regarding this process? I mean, like I said earlier, we do have a catalog of all the bylaws. So has there been a preliminary review thus far where we're not contemporary and maybe the bylaws are okay? Has that been done?
So over the last few years, Councillor, you will have seen several bylaws that have come from various committees to be updated. They have not all been done, and so as part of our movement going forward and tying into the processes that of the OP and the strategic plan, these will be elements of that will factor in both ways, going into and coming out of that process as well.
Can you give me any examples?
Of what, Councillor?
Can you give me any examples of there's a particular bylaw is going to change due to the review? I thought all of our bylaws, for the most part, we're up to date and contemporary. I mean, you're always making amendments. We understand that it's a moving target, but is there anyone that comes to your mind? Any of the bylaws come to your mind that needs to be updated immediately?
I cannot think of one right away, but I will go to Tina for further comment. Basically, from the committees, I'm sure that they'll review their bylaws, Councillor, and if they feel that they need to be adjusted or updated, obviously they'll come forward, and that will factor into the other processes as I indicated going forward. And Tina, if you want to add further discussion as to where you believe that's going to go.
Sure. And part and parcel of this, part of it is an internal exercise, Councillor Tweel, in order to make sure that we are doing a movement towards more organizational structural review, and also with my being brought into the city and taking over some of the management of the legal and risk areas and coordinating with external counsel. Our general counsel. I'm used to saying external counsel because I'm used to being internal counsel. We are taking a look at how all of our bylaws, policies, and procedures work together, and whether or not they need to undergo a review, putting them on a system of review so that it's monitored and cataloged and it works together. And in terms of going through all of them, I haven't done that yet because we're in the information gathering and sorting stage right now to try to centralize these services for the municipality, and hopefully in the long run streamline some of these processes and procedures and ultimately save people money, which is what everyone likes to do. I can say that there is one bylaw that we are looking at already, and that would be our procurement policy bylaw.
Is procurement bylaw? I mean, I raised that at the last council meeting. I've asked the chair of finance to put that on committee's agenda for further deliberations and discussions, due to the fact we're in this whole dilemma with the enterprise PEI contract. And I did question whether or not it was an open and fair process in terms of being an equal level playing field where all members of the business community that's in the automobile industry have that opportunity to be able to compete and put in a bid, and have that open and transparent opportunity. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that happened in this particular case, because we had the proposal from Enterprise PEI, and council on a 4-3 vote supported that proposal without giving the other members of the auto industry an opportunity to be able to compete. So is that what you're talking about, Tina?
Through the chair to Councillor Twill, I'm not specifically speaking to any one contract. And as for enterprise, that is something that is being looked at separately under the direction of council. There are questions to be answered, and that is something that is being looked at separately.
Right.
But in terms of the review of our procurement policy in general, I do have a background in procurement and have been steeped in it for a long time. And it's just one of the bylaws that jumped out at me that could use a review. And just so that you know, our finance manager had already begun doing that, and we are working on a revised draft and some discussion as to where that will go. That will, of course, be brought forward through council for discussion and input.
And when that takes place, I don't mean to belabor the point, but I do have to ask a question. When that takes place, will that line up with other municipalities across the country from a jurisdictional scan perspective?
If you're speaking to, sorry, through the chair, if you're speaking through as to a procurement policy, for the most part, because some of our laws and the way we regulate our procurements and our municipal buying and selling, or however you want to look at things, a lot of that is influenced from Ontario case law, because there isn't a huge body of it here in terms of procurement. So it is going to be largely based on best practices for procurement for the island, as well as upon the case law that has come out governing procurement in the public sector. And it would be, I would think, for the most part, there'd be a lot of reliance on the case law coming out of Ontario and what we can find from the island. But it will be based on best practices.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I apologize, but I do have to bring up another point. Ever since we've get into these situations with making a decision on different contracts, Public Works comes to mind. It keeps coming up over the last couple of years. I did bring to council that one of the things I would like to see in the procurement policy or bylaw, I'd like to see it become a bylaw, is that there's a certain criteria in the bylaw which gives an opportunity and extra marks if you're local. If the business is local here within the city parameters or the province, that they're here, they're paying taxes, they're hiring employees, they're making contributions, financial contributions to different charities, and make a significant contribution to this city and this community. And I think there should be a section in that new procurement policy, bylaw, whatever you want to call it, that you do get extra marks if you are truly local. I mean, we keep hearing about wanting to support local, so there should be criteria, or there should be a section in the new procurement policy that would give an opportunity for extra grading for local businesses.
Okay, why don't we just have Tina explore that more, Councilor Creel? They're great points and all that, and maybe she can look into that when she's going down that road.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Tina, for that. Okay, anything else on that one? I see not. Bill 21, I guess that's me. they're looking for our support to oppose Bill 21 up in Quebec, I believe it's stated. And we just want to put a resolution there saying that we do not support Bill 21 because it's about religion, race, politics, everything like that. People could lose their job if they wear their garb along the lines. And I got a letter from a resident from the Muslim community here in my ward, and things in other places like Halifax and other major cities are opposing this bill also. So we just want to show, we just want to throw our support behind that. Does anyone have any questions or issues with that?
Councillor Twill has his hand up, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Councillor Phil.
Chair, thank you for bringing this forward. The question I have is, I don't know if it's so much a question or jurisdictional. As you know, we are a creature of the provincial government, and I wonder, would this carry more weight, more clout if the provincial government passed a resolution, for example, in the Legislative Assembly, speaking to their respective counterparts at the provincial level in the province of Quebec, with its provincial government, I believe, that has brought this Bill 21. I mean, we're a municipality. Would it be better from a jurisdictional sense? Maybe we could forward this on to the province and.
And I see your point, and I don't know if the province already did that, Councillor Field, but we're just want to put a letter and just say that we're against Bill 21, as other capital cities did, and it isn't a large thing, but we just want to support them by saying like people can't be losing their jobs because they're wearing their head covers and certain religious and all that. So that's what we're basically doing. It's pretty cut and dry. We're not owing up to anything. We're just saying that we do not support Bill 21. And what the province is doing, I don't know. Maybe we can check if they're sending their own support also. But they're looking at all the capital cities. Just have a resolution to go to them and just say, Charlotte Allen's not in favor of Bill 21.
So is the intent, Mr. Chair, is to have council pass some sort of a resolution on this effect, or is that after, as per Councillor Twill's asked to forward to the province first to see what they're up to?
Yes. I mean, we can always, I can always talk to the province about this too and see where their stance is on it too, but we're sort of separating ourselves. I know it was brought in by the province of Quebec, but at the same time, I don't know what other provinces are doing about that, Councillor Twill. I can't answer that, but I know the capital cities are all opposing it. Go ahead, sir.
And
thank you. The reason why I bring it up is because, it's a provincial legislation, and I'll just reinforce what I said earlier. I would think it much more prudent, much more effective, carry a lot more clout if you have the Premier speaking to this particular issue on behalf of the government of Prince Edward Island. And these are just suggestions, Chair Ramsey. That's all they are. I just think from one province to another, it's great that a municipality sends in a letter. I wouldn't think it carries much weight as a provincial government representing the province of Prince Edward Island. The second item is, did you give any consideration to forwarding this on to the PEI Federation of Municipalities for their consideration? Again, you have registered 75 municipalities. Once again, it would carry more weight. These are just suggestions, sir. I mean, I understand the letter and the contents of the letter and the significance of it. I'm just looking at it in terms of what actually would have a greater impact.
Yeah.
And that's why I bring up, the provincial government. I mean, the province talking to another. They have their first ministers' meetings. I mean, it could be brought up there. There's opportunities where we don't get to sit at the table as a municipality, whether we're a capital city or not. We don't have that opportunity to sit at the table at a first ministers' conference. So that's why I bring it up, and I ask the other members of the committee on their thoughts as well.
Yeah, and once again, like, we're just looking for a resolution to go to council, and I will certainly be bringing it up with the provincial government and the FCM also for their letter of intent also, and we go from there. Is that fair? Okay, Councillor Drawn, do you have anything, or Councillor Rivard?
No, I think Councillor Tweel, hit some good points there, and I certainly agree with him. No, I'd be good to see it. Go ahead.
I mean, do you have any issues with it passing a resolution saying that we oppose Bill 21?
No, none at all.
Okay, how about you, Councillor Rivard?
I'm good.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Kelly, you'll do all that up. Okay, number 8, strategic priorities and official plan update. The next steps for the committee. Tina, would you like to walk us through that?
Sure. So the RFP was created with the assistance of an external consultant as well as our experts in-house. It has been on the street for a couple of weeks now, and it closes on March the 3rd. We only received a few questions, so that's usually a really good sign that it was well put together and well received. But most of the questions were around extending the deadline, which we did to the 3rd. One of the things that we wanted to do was, because this impacts several committees, it impacts this committee in terms of the strategic plan. It impacts the Planning and Heritage Committee because that is what initiated it under the official planning rejuvenation process. And also it will be going through the Finance Committee for approval of the final approval of the award of the RFP before it goes to council. So what we did is we had a discussion with the chairs of those various committees to make sure that we could coordinate and meet all of the proper procedures to have the award of the RFP recommendation go through those committees in a timely manner to meet the really tight timelines for the beginning and ending of the overall project. And you'll see in your package there a notation as to the next steps in terms of that process and procedure. And the reason why we wanted to discuss that here is we wanted to make sure that all committee members were on board with us proceeding through the award phase of the RFP as it pertains to the Strategic Initiatives and Intergovernmental Committee. To do that via email on the 10th of March. And if you have a problem with that, then we would, our only other option is to call a special emergency meeting, if you will, of this committee on that date in order to meet our timelines. So I turn it back over to the chair because we had that discussion and you seem supportive of this approach, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Tina, too, what we're going to do is that you're sending out an RFP for an independent company, and then they're going to come back with their ideas, what's going to be happening, or they would like to see happen in the city of Charlottetown. Am I correct in that? Their overall plan for the city of Charlottetown?
Yes, well, the RFP is for them to submit a proposal as to how they are going to go about developing a strategic plan for the city of Charlottetown, as well as the official plan, because we did a combined RFP and threw it open for people to create partnerships to be able to have expertise in both of those areas. Mm-hmm. And so that the aspects of the strategic plan very much influence the official plan so that everyone's on the same page moving forward. And that RFP closes on the 3rd, and the award of that RFP to the successful proponent is the process that we are discussing here today.
Okay, so then after, does this go back to council also?
Yes, so what would happen is that once we have done the scoring and we have determined who the successful proponent should be, and we have our report with recommendation ready, it would have to go through this committee in terms of the strategic planning aspects. It would have to go through the Planning and Heritage Committee for their endorsement as well. After that, then it goes through the Finance Committee for their endorsement of award. Then it goes to Council, and that is going to be scheduled for the 14th of March. So it's an extremely tight timeline between the 9th, when we hope to have everything finalized for review by the committees and with our recommendation in hand, and then getting it through Council on the 14th, so that we can do contract execution during that week and have project kickoff and meet the timelines that were posted publicly for the development of the strategic plan and the official plan.
Okay. Like I'm okay with it, because we're only looking to pass on for the RFP there today. Am I correct? To summarize it all up.
I'm sorry, Chair. I didn't quite understand the question.
Yeah, like I said, like I'm good with it after our meeting there Tuesday that we had, and I'm just so we're just looking to pass on the RFP today, basically, from this committee. Am I correct?
No, you're not even that far along. This committee today, discussion today, is just to approve our approach to have with that when the RFP recommendation does come through, that we can do it via email on the 10th, unless you want to call an emergency special meeting of this group just to talk about the recommendation for award.
Okay.
So that's all that is today is procedure. The RFP recommendation will be coming back for the 10th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councillor John, do you have any issues with this or any questions?
No, I don't, Kevin. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Rivard?
No, sir.
Okay. Councillor Tweel?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Thank you. All members of council get a copy of the RFP to be able to have the opportunity to look at it.
So
That's my first question.
ordinary process would be, Councillor, is that Council endorsed staff to go to an RFP. Staff prepared the document, and they are now out for a response, and so they normally would not go to Council until the process is complete, and they would come back for discussion.
Well, Mr. Kelly, I'd like to get a copy of the RFP. That's my first request. I would have thought that we would have had an opportunity, and since this committee is the one, initiating this particular initiative, I would have thought that we would have looked at the RFP. So I do have a bunch of questions, Chair, and I'd like to ask them. So having said that, I'd like to get a copy of the RFP. When we're talking about the strategy, can you elaborate as to what exactly we're looking at? That's my first question.
Tina?
Sorry, through the chair to Councillor Tweel. Councillor Tweel, are you asking what the strategy is for the overall process of the development of the strategic plan and the official plan, or are you asking me what we're looking for the development of the strategic plan, just so I'm answering your question correctly?
Both.
Both, okay. So in terms of the timing and the strategy for the development of the strategic plan and the official plan, the timing is to begin on the public consultation pieces, which will be used for both the strategic plan and the official plan, beginning right out of the gate. So after the contract is signed, those will begin and be initiated, including, of course, council meetings and stakeholder engagement with other identified parties that should have a voice, if you will, in the development of the plan. The idea is to have a strategic plan that is as close to, sorry, I'm getting feedback, I'm not sure where. The strategic plan is to have that as close to completed and reviewed and endorsed by council by this summer, so that there is enough information there to be able to create a draft of the official plan, which may or may not look like it does now. And then that will be used to go forward, and the process will then flow into a very intensive official plan process from there on in, with the hopes to have the new official plan in place by the prior to the end of 2023. So that's the goal for that. In terms of what we're looking for in a strategic plan, as was discussed at council, we are looking for a vision and overall guidance and strategy for the direction that council, stakeholders, the public, and organizational staff and management see the city going within the next 5 years. And we picked a 5-year time frame because that seems to be around pretty standard for strategic planning purposes. It is one of those things that acts as a guide and an influencer for things that you're going to do. So when you have a strategic plan in place that demonstrates the will of council and everyone who has participated in the process going forward, when staff or management bring things forward to council thereafter, they can tie it back to that plan and that vision and certain goals that were set there and endorsed by council, so that it's streamlined and we're all working towards the same direction. And we're able to say, look, we're meeting this, and this aspect of the strategic plan that's been approved by council. And that's why this project or this policy or this program or this structure should go through, because it can be tied to something that moves the city together in one direction that is demonstrative of the collective will of council and all the people that contribute to making the city what it is.
You're on mute, Councillor Tweel. You have to unmute. Councillor Tweel, you have to unmute.
You're on mute.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Are council standing committees being proposed to be reduced?
So that is not even part of the RFP that I'm aware of, Councillor, that the strategic plan will go through the hands of council in concert with staff, and council will ultimately determine where they're going to go. At this time, there has been, as you know, over the years, some preliminary discussions around that issue, but at this point, it's not even part of the discussion at this point, but it may become so during this process.
Okay, maybe become part of the process. So, is that in the terms of reference for the request for proposals?
I'll let Tina answer. I don't think so, but I'll let Tina answer that.
Now, I have to know that. Mr. Kelly.
No, it is not.
It's not.
That would be, sorry, through the chair to Councillor Tweel, that would be something that would flow out of after we have the strategic plan in place. If
Right.
it's the will of council to make adjustments to the committees based on that strategic plan, then we would discuss it at that time. But is it part of the strategic plan? No. The strategic plan is very much that. It's an overarching document to give the city direction. That's it.
So it's not part of the request for proposals. That's my question.
No, it is not.
Okay, oh, that's fine, okay. My third question, are council budget protocols being altered and resulting in standing committees no longer involved in the budget process?
I'm not understanding what you
I'm not sure that's part of the strategic planning process, but I can answer that. If that's a separate question about the budget, Peter and I can respond to that,
Sure,
but
go
that
ahead.
doesn't have anything to do with the strategic planning process or the RFP.
Nothing to do with it whatsoever? No. Okay, my fourth question, are councils at large being proposed?
Again, Councillor Tweel, none of that is in the RFP for the strategic planning process. Could that suggestion flow out of that? Could that be something that flows out of it for discussion with council down the road? I don't have an answer to that, but that's not part of the RFP.
So it's not part of it in any which way, shape, or form?
It's not part of the RFP or the proposal process. Again, could those discussions flow out of whatever the council endorses as the strategic plan? Of course, anything could. Our organizational structure could. A lot of things could.
So
But it's not part of the strategic plan proper, no.
Okay, so when you say it could flow out of it, who would initiate that?
I think it would depend. It could come as a recommendation from staff for council's review. It could come from one of the councillors who says, I want to put this on the agenda and talk about it. I mean, it would come to you in the normal process as anything would of that magnitude. And ultimately it'd be council's decision.
Okay, so it could come from staff, what you're saying.
I believe a recommendation could come from staff if the chair is willing to, put it on an agenda.
Well,
But we don't get to randomly just make those determinations, though. That's council.
I understand that, but just to make you aware, senior management aware, we had a plebiscite back a number of years ago, and 80% of the population in this city said overwhelmingly no. They like having their representative at the ward level, and they were not one bit interested in councillors at large. And I keep hearing this, so that's why I bring it up, Chair, because that's not as members of council. I haven't heard any members of council proposing this, so I do have a concern when I hear it could come from staff. Staff should have nothing to do with how we're elected. And I have to question the motivation behind that. I really do. That's why I bring it up. And I think, Chair, I don't think we should underestimate this, because the last thing we want is, all of a sudden council's back put to the walls saying, oh, this is what we need to do. So I bring it up here now. I've asked it before, and I just hope we're not, some strategies in play here to try to bring this in and try to back the council into a corner. So I don't think it should be initiated. I don't think it should be part of the strategy. I thought we're talking a strategic plan and strategy, not how councillors are elected. So no. I have major concerns with that.
I know you do. Because we all been hearing that rumors for the last little while.
Yeah.
And if I understand what Tina's saying, Councillor Tweel, is that this is just for the RFP, and then it's a moving document once it's awarded, and then if you all of a sudden had a good idea, well, you can bring that up, or if I had something else up there, we can bring it up. It's going to be, but at the end of the day, council votes on it, no matter if it's going to be a councillor at large, or 10 wards, or 4 committees, or whatever that. The final say is under council.
So that is true, Mr. Chair, and again, also to be clear that if there is anything flowing out of either the strategic plan or any member of council bringing new initiatives, as we're all aware, it has to flow through committees and onward to council. So I'm sure it'll have thorough debate and whatever the issue may be. So there is no defined plan in place to do anything. There's no goal in play. Basically, the whole process at the end of the day will be in council's hands and council hands only.
Yeah, and if I might add too, Councilor Tweel, like no matter what corporation everybody works for, whether it's the city or McCain's or Cavendish or something like that, there's always going to be stories and rumors going around. And I've been hearing just as many as you have been, and it's the same ones. But at the end of the day, we as a council, or who's ever involved in it as a council, has the final say of what's going to be brought forward, or what's going to be omitted, or what's going to be added on.
But what I have is, if staff, make a recommendation, I don't even think it should. I have major concerns with that, Chair. Major concerns with that. What I just heard. So,
yeah, but that's what we
again, Mr. Chair. There's no plan on any member of council staff that I'm aware of who's said we want to recommend to go to at large. Again, at the end of the day, all those things will go through committee, and council will decide where they want to go.
Yeah.
All right. I raise it because.
Yeah.
That's
a good point.
You want to believe it's a good point. I don't think staff should be recommending how we're elected.
No.
So I just want to be upfront. So my next.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Okay. So then the next question is there an organizational review as part of the strategy?
Through the chair to Councillor Tweel, the organizational review and operational review is something that organizations should be doing on a regular basis. Taking a look at performance, taking a look at how things can be better structured, taking a look at staffing levels, things of that nature. That's something that Peter and I would be doing irrespective of whether or not there was a new strategic plan or official plan being put in place. But I will say that with a strategic plan in place that clearly outlines the direction that council is taking the city, that is very useful in terms of if there are changes that we believe need to be made organizationally, we can again reference the strategic plan and make sure that those changes are in line with the direction that the city is going. But it is not part of the strategic planning process proper. It's one of those things that could be considered once we have the strategic plan in place.
Okay. One of the last questions, Chair, is this new strategic plan, is it binding?
So, Councillor, normal process is that council will ultimately decide what the city's strategic plan will be, and the council would have to be endorsed by formal emotion. From that strategic plan will flow the budgetary allocations, the staff allocations, and the priorities of the council of the day until otherwise changed, because the intent always is to update the plan and meet with the public expectation who will have a degree of input through the council and staff, and continue on in that a direction. So there will be some changes according to whatever council makes as their priorities. If they are looking for more for fire, policing, recreation, utility, wherever they wish to discuss, change, or otherwise, will ultimately affect any of those departments. And so, yes, council will flow from it, and usually that gives staff the direction in which to take that information and guide it through the budgetary and operation processes.
Okay.
Will there be flexibility? Or are we bound to it that there's no room to maneuver? Because one of the things I learned in public administration, there's the intended strategy, and then there's the emerged strategy. So just because you lay out a plan for 4 or 5 years today, it doesn't mean it can even get changed in the first year. So, we're going to be bound to it that there's no room for council to have flexibility to say, maybe that's not the direction we want to go in.
And there will be, as it moves forward, there's inherent flexibility in everything that we do, and the council of the day can change direction, alter direction, or speed up direction. It depends what they want to do. So ultimately, the process lies with council, but it does give staff and council a map or a tool in which to work going forward. And again, if they're spending the time, energy, and resources to create that, then we are probably going to get council's input, and for the most part, will be where council wants to go.
Okay.
Chair, it's Greg here. Just Councillor Tweel, I just want to, again, I've been part of organizations that have gone through this as well. Again, this is not something that should be feared in any way. This is something that should be welcomed. I mean, if anything, going week by week on kind of an ad hoc basis, or month by month, if you will, is not good for the city. It's not good for budgeting. It's not good for future planning. Having a strategic plan in place is pivotal with any successful organization to move forward. And again, when we talk about a living document making changes, it's not that you can make changes so readily and easily. The whole intent is to kind of map it out for the next number of years to make sure that for budgetary purposes, for everything, that's you're taking a holistic approach and look at the city. You're able to tell the residents of the city that this is kind of where the city is going. I think any successful organization does this. So I wouldn't be apprehensive in any way. This is a good thing. So that's all I want to say, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay. Councillor Drawn, you good?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your questions, Councilor Twill. They're all great. We've been hearing some stuff too. So you weren't alone in that aspect of it. Okay, number 9. Oh, sorry. Number 9, new business, Councilor Twill, 9A, CAC appointments. You brought that up?
Thank you, Chair. Back in November 25th, I put this under new business. Committee supported the idea that there's a deficiency in the process of that, and we keep reading in the press that all members of council don't have to be consulted or collaborated with when it comes to participating on different committees, different standing committees. I think that's a major deficiencies, and what you have is a communication, failure to communicate, quote unquote. I think it's time that we put in place an amendment to the procedural bylaw that all members of council are truly consulted with, both individually and collectively. So there's a comfort zone in knowing which committees you'd like to participate on and which committees you would not like to participate on. I think that's very important. I think that's been missing over the last year and a half, the last 2 years, and it's put some members of council in a very precarious situation, vulnerable situation. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair at all. I think, and you know my feelings, and I think this committee knows it. The committee supported that. Mr. Kelly, you said you were going to come back with wording for a resolution to go to council. I'd like to advance this to the next regular monthly meeting of City Council for council to consider and vote on.
So just to be clear, Mr. Chairman, what we would like to have, if this is where the committee wants to go, and that's fine, is a very clear understanding of what you'll be asking council to do. And from what I'm hearing, I believe, is that further to any further appointments, that a consultation process to seek interest in various committees be undertaken and then go back to the committee for distribution. And that's fine, other than it should be noted that ultimately, or unfortunately, not everybody will get what they want, but at least you'll have a chance for input as to where that may go at the end of the day. Is that what I am led to believe, Councillor?
Well, I think it's imperative, it's essential, and indispensable to a fairness in terms of true collaborations, true communications, and true cooperation that all members are consulted on. Here's the committees I'd like to participate on. Here's the committees I do not wish to participate on. And it's great to say, well, a resolution's coming to council, but you're at the back end of the process, so there really is no process, and the die's already casted. And here's the resolution, and you have to take it or leave it. And I don't think that's fair that just 3 or 4 members of City Council get to advance. Here's what we suggest putting on the different committees. And by the way, we don't have to consult with you. I think that's deplorable. I really do. I think it's deplorable. It's disrespectful. We're only 10 councillors. It's not like the House of Commons or the House of Representatives where there's hundreds and hundreds of representatives from across the country. We're just 10 councillors, and that means we don't have to communicate with one another. That, to my mind, you talk about strategic planning and harmony and looking forward. You can't even work collectively as a cohesive council. No. So I think I'd like to have that a resolution presented to council chair, so that all members of council are given the opportunity. I mean, chair, you yourself, maybe you'd like to sit on the fire committee or regardless of, okay, yeah. But you know the point I'm trying to make here, Kevin.
I know. So what it is,
Greg.
Oh,
sorry,
Greg. Go ahead, Gregory.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilor Rivard,
Thank you, Chair. And I've said this before, again, and I'll say it again one more time, and I'll probably end up saying it again and again and again. When you're putting committees together, I think the one thing that was lost here is the fact that normally you put people in places of strength. You put councillors in place of where their interests lie, because that's where they're going to spend most of their energy, with the good of Charlottetown being the ultimate goal. If you're going to put someone in a position that they're not passionate about, then you're probably going to get, a crappy result, if you will. So I think, when you look at provincial, you look at federal levels, you look at, people's strength. You don't, you don't put someone in chair of finance that has no interest in finance or has a financial background. You put people in place, strength. And I think, the way it was done the last time around, I certainly question. I question it. That it wasn't done properly. It was people were put in spots maybe that they didn't want to as a mess. I don't know. I just don't think it was well done, and I was against it, and I'm still opposed to it. And I would certainly like to, have it reviewed again, and even moving forward for whoever the next council is, that you build a committee structure that is beneficial to not only the councillors, but beneficial to the residents. The residents are not going to get anything out of this when we have councillors in-house fighting because they weren't heard. So I think it's ridiculous, and anyways, that's my take on it. Thanks.
So, if I may chime in, so what we're going to do is, but this will not take effect until after the election. Am I correct? Because I can't see anybody changing. I can't see anyone changing anything now because we got 6 months, guys, and whoever's running or folks are going to be out there knocking on doors in 6 months. So why would you change up committees right now? My own personal opinion.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Chair. But put this in place now. In the event that there are going to be changes, there has to be consultation. You shouldn't have to wait for consultations for next November or next December. You put it in place now, and you send a message that whoever's sitting on the advisory committee, we must consult with all members of council. That's not an unreasonable request. So,
Mr. Kelly, what do you think of that?
So again, if it's the intent of the committee to bring forward to council this process, just move the motion and we'll prepare the documentation to take forward.
Okay, do I have a mover?
I move the motion.
Okay, moved by Councillor Tweel. Second by who? Oh, Councillor Rivera, thank you.
Yeah, or I can move it. Yeah, great.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Brown. Okay, the next one is a resolution to change members of CAC.
Yep, I'll speak to that. Thank you, Chair, for putting it on the agenda. Once again, I brought this up at the last City Council meeting, and I think there's an opportunity here. We've had some members of the committee sit on this particular committee for the duration of this council, or at the beginning of this council. I think there's an opportunity to replace some members of council to give it a fresh set of lens, a new set of eyes, maybe new values, and with the previous motion we're going to bring to council, it gives all members of council an opportunity, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. There could be changes, proposed changes, and I think this resolution would create that incentive. I think it's a good resolution. It's past overdue. Once again, committees were changed, and this could happen again. Even one or two changes on the committee, I think is good for council. I really do, and good for the city. We're supposed to work to our potential every day of the week. Every day of the week, 365 days of the year. And I would like to put this motion on the floor and hope the committee would support it and then bring it to council.
So you're saying you want to change between now and the election?
That's exactly right.
All right.
Anyway, I'd like to bring it to council.
So
I don't have a vote on it, but go ahead.
just to be
I put a motion on the floor.
Just to be clear, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure what the motion is being. Is the motion to appoint 3 or 4 specific individuals to go on, or just so we understand what process the council sees unfolding here, so we can at least advise how this would work going forward?
I guess I would. This particular resolution, Mr. Kelly, would be at least a couple of changes on the committee.
So
and to give it a fresh set of lens.
So it's so clear, and you're asking council to appoint 2 new members and and then they would take the place of 2 others that are currently there. Is that correct?
That's exactly right, Mr. Kelly.
Okay, we'll see what we can do. And there's no specific individuals that you're looking for, Councillor. Is that correct?
Well, I think, you know, the ones that are there since the inception of the committee, I think they should come off, and we put on a couple of new ones.
Right, but I'm saying,
It's only fair.
is there any names that you want to put forward for council's consideration? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well, if we're having a discussion, I'd like to recommend Councillor Rivard and Councillor Duran.
So if they're the names you're putting forward, then, Mr. Chair, if the committee wishes to put forward a motion, obviously we would forward that to council for their consideration.
Okay,
Is there a motion on the floor?
I put the motion on the floor.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A second on Councillor Drawn. Thank you. So Peter, you'll draw that up and we'll have a look at it?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you
And
very much.
bring it to council for the next vote, or for next meeting, the regular council meeting.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
you're very welcome, sir. Anything else, folks? Like we did good in an hour, not bad.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of questions from you, Councillors Wheel.
Well, you know what, Chair, you know what, Kevin, I'm sorry, Chair Ramsey, these are a lot of important issues that were on this agenda today.
I know. I
you know,
was just teasing you when I said that. I was just.
I know that, and I'll tell you, you know, I take it serious, as you know, and I try to become prepared as I possibly can to ask the questions, because what I don't want, you know, when we get down the road, you know, for example, on the plan of priorities, or how it's going to change, or how it's going to shake down, well, you never asked any questions all along.
That's right.
That's why, you know what I mean? I don't want it said that, you know, you didn't raise these issues. I did raise the issues.
Okay, excellent. I guess that's it. A motion to adjourn.
Just,
Thank you.
Oh, hold up.
no,
Sorry, Mr. Kelly, go ahead.
no, if you're ready to go, go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Rivard, second by Councillor Tweel. Thank you very much for your time, and folks,